Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
It's great to be here.
Today we're going deep into the world of adrenal steroid metabolism,
Oh, yeah.
specifically cortisol,
Uh-huh.
aldosterone,
Right.
and adrenal androgens.
Okay.
You sent over a medical text chapter and some recent research abstracts on the topic.
Right.
So we've got a lot to unpack,
Lots to talk about.
but don't worry, we'll break it all down.
Absolutely.
Make sure you walk away with
Yeah.
the most interesting and relevant information.
For sure.
So let's jump right in. The liver.
Okay.
It's like the grand central station of adrenal steroid metabolism, right?
It is. It's the central hub,
Everything passes through there.
especially cortisol.
So walk me through it.
Okay.
What actually happens in the liver with cortisol?
So cortisol arrives at the liver,
Mm-hmm.
and to continue its journey, it needs to be repackaged,
Repackaged.
made more water-friendly.
Okay.
So it can be excreted in your urine, like repackaging it for a flight.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So what are the repackaging steps?
There are three main ones:
Okay.
reduction,
Huh?
oxidation,
Okay.
and hydroxylation.
Got it.
They all involve kind of tweaking cortisol's chemical structure,
Interesting.
making it less active and more soluble.
So it's ready to be flushed out.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's where I get a little confused.
Okay.
The text mentions that the liver can also reactivate cortisol
Yes.
from an inactive form
Right?
called cortisone.
Mm-hmm.
Why would it do that if it's just trying to get rid of it?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
It seems counterintuitive,
it does.
but it's all about fine-tuning
Okay.
and balance.
So the liver is both breaking down cortisol
Yes.
and reactivating it.
Exactly.
It's like a two-way street.
It is.
Why would it do
And,
that?
Well, this back and forth conversion,
Ah.
it allows different tissues in your body to have just the right amount of active cortisol.
At any given time.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It is. And this is thanks to an enzyme called 11-beta-HSD1.
11-beta-HSD1.
Yeah, try saying that 3 times fast.
I'm not even going to try.
Mouthful.
So even if my body's trying to get rid of cortisol in the liver,
Right.
it might be making more in other places.
It might.
Why?
It's all about making sure each part of your body has the right amount
Okay.
for what it's doing at that moment.
So it knows what's going on.
Yeah, like a delivery service, adjusting routes based on demand.
Oh, so sometimes packages need to be redirected
Exactly.
and sometimes they need to be sent back out.
Yeah, it's a dynamic process.
That's a lot more complex than I imagine.
It is pretty amazing.
So even though we're talking about the liver,
Yeah,
this process affects my whole body.
exactly. It's not just a one-way street.
It's like a whole network.
It is. And this enzyme,
Uh-huh.
11-beta-HSD1,
There it is again.
it's also found in other tissues.
Like where?
Like fat cells in the brain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, suggesting it plays a role in things like obesity
Oh,
and metabolic syndrome.
interesting.
More research is needed,
Yeah.
but it really highlights how crucial this conversion is
For my health.
for everyone's health.
This is blowing my mind a little.
I know, it's fascinating stuff.
So what else can affect how my body handles cortisol?
Well, remember, our liver is airport analogy, just
Mm.
like air traffic can be affected by weather,
What?
time of day,
Oh.
all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Cortisol metabolism is also affected by different factors.
Like what?
For instance, thyroid hormone.
Oh, interesting.
It has a big impact.
How so?
Well, if your thyroid is overactive,
Okay.
your cortisol clearance speeds up.
So it's like those baggage handlers are working overtime.
Exactly.
But if it's getting cleared faster,
Yeah.
wouldn't my overall cortisol levels drop?
That's a good question, but not necessarily.
Why not?
Your body is always striving for balance. It compensates by producing more cortisol
Okay.
to keep things stable.
So even though clearance is faster,
Uh-huh.
my serum cortisol levels stay fairly consistent.
Exactly.
Wow. So it's like a finely tuned feedback loop,
It is.
constantly adjusting.
All the time.
That's so cool. And what happens if my thyroid is underactive?
Well, the opposite happens.
So clearance slows down,
Right.
but serum levels remain steady.
Exactly. Your body's always working to maintain that balance.
Wow. So it's not as simple as just more or less.
It's all about that balance.
What about as we age?
Uh,
The text mentioned that cortisol metabolism changes as we get older.
it does.
Does that mean things are going to go haywire?
Not necessarily. It's a normal part of aging.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean your cortisol levels will become unbalanced,
Okay.
but it is something to be aware of.
So my body might handle cortisol a little differently.
Yes, as you age, that's totally normal.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
What about if someone has liver disease?
Oh, yeah, that's an important one.
Would that affect this whole process?
Absolutely.
Because the liver is so central?
Right. If the liver isn't functioning optimally,
Okay,
it can definitely throw a wrench in the whole system.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, this might sound a little out there,
Yeah.
but the research abstracts you sent over
Mm-hmm.
mention a connection between obesity
Okay.
and how the body breaks down cortisol.
Yeah. Interesting.
Can you explain that?
Sure. Research indicates that obese individuals actually break down more cortisol.
Really? I would have thought it would be the other way around.
A lot of people think that.
Why is that?
It's not fully understood.
And is it a good or bad thing?
That's a complex question.
Yeah.
It could be both.
How so?
Well, on one hand, this increased breakdown
Uh-huh.
might help protect against the negative effects of high cortisol.
Which is often seen in obesity.
Yes, exactly.
So it's like the body is trying to fight back.
It could be. Trying to get rid of the excess.
But on the other hand,
Well, this faster clearance could lead to too little cortisol in certain tissues.
interesting.
And that could potentially contribute to metabolic issues.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Kind of. It's complicated.
That makes sense.
And to make things even more interesting,
Oh, boy.
studies show that a low-carb diet
Okay.
can actually reverse this increased cortisol clearance.
Really?
Yeah, in obese men.
So changing what you eat
Huh?
can actually affect how your body handles cortisol.
It can. It shows how interconnected everything is.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. Diet, hormones, metabolism,
It's all connected.
it all works together.
So diet isn't the only factor that can affect cortisol.
No, not at all.
What else?
Medications.
Oh, right.
Certain drugs can also influence how your body processes cortisol.
I imagine certain drugs could interfere with this whole system.
That's right.
What kind of medications?
Well, for example, medications like mitotane,
Okay.
rifampin,
Uh-huh.
and triglyceridone
Got it.
are known to affect cortisol metabolism.
And that can change how other drugs work in my body.
Potentially, yes.
Wow. So we've got hormones,
Yep.
age disease,
Right.
obesity, and medications
That's right.
all playing a role in how our bodies handle cortisol.
It's like a giant web of interactions.
Exactly.
It's really fascinating.
But I have a feeling we're only just scratching the surface here.
We are.
What about aldosterone?
Good question.
Does the liver handle that one too?
The liver does play a role,
Okay.
but with aldosterone, we have a different key player.
Who's that?
The kidney.
Ooh, a new destination.
That's right. Our airport analogy is expanding.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Right.
Tell me about this kidney aldosterone connection.
So the kidney has this enzyme
Okay.
called 11-beta-HSD2.
Another one.
Yeah, I know lots of long names.
Okay, so what does this 11-beta-HSD2 do?
It plays a crucial role in making sure aldosterone can do its job.
How so?
Well, aldosterone has a specific receptor
Okay.
it needs to bind to in order to work. But here's the thing.
What's that?
Cortisol can also bind to that same receptor.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it's not supposed to.
Exactly.
So cortisol is trying to crash aldosterone's party.
You could say that.
What would happen if cortisol were to bind to that receptor?
Well, it would start mimicking aldosterone's actions, which would lead to imbalances.
I see. So this 11-beta-HSD2 enzyme in the kidney,
Yeah,
it's like a bouncer,
I like it.
making sure only aldosterone gets in.
To do its job.
Exactly. It's essential for aldosterone to bind to its receptor.
Right, without interference from cortisol.
So it can properly regulate things like fluid balance.
Yes, and electrolyte balance.
It's amazing how everything is so connected.
It is.
So we've got the liver managing cortisol
Yeah.
and the kidney playing a crucial role with aldosterone.
Uh-huh.
What's next on our adrenal steroid tour?
We can't forget about adrenal androgens,
Oh,
specifically DHEA.
DHEA, the hormone they're always talking about in anti-aging ads.
Yep, that's the one.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, but DHEA is a lot more than just an anti-aging supplement.
Okay.
It's the most abundant adrenal steroid.
Interesting.
And it actually serves as a precursor to other androgens.
So it's like the mother of all adrenal androgens.
You could say that.
Okay, so DHEA undergoes this complex metabolic journey,
It does.
transforming into various forms.
With different activities.
Where does all this metabolic magic happen?
Back in the liver.
Yeah.
Like cortisol,
Okay.
DHEA metabolism involves multiple organs and enzymes.
I see.
It's like a relay race.
DHEA getting passed from one organ to another.
Yeah, undergoing transformations along the way.
Okay, so we even see our friend 5-alpha reductase again.
Right.
We met him with cortisol metabolism.
He's back. busy converting DHEA.
That enzyme gets around.
He does. He's a busy guy.
So with all these transformations happening,
Yeah.
where do these adrenal steroid byproducts end up?
Well, most metabolites are excreted in urine.
Makes sense.
But there's a fun fact about DHEA. Oh, I love fun facts.
A significant portion of its metabolites are actually excreted in your feces.
Wait, seriously?
Seriously.
So all those fancy DHEA supplements might just be ending up, well, you know.
That's right. Not what the ads tell you.
Definitely not.
It just goes to show that even the seemingly simple process of getting rid of these hormones is surprisingly complex.
That's fascinating.
And it involves multiple organ systems.
This deep dive has been incredible.
Yes.
Who knew adrenal steroid metabolism was so intricate and fascinating?
It's pretty cool.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance happening inside us all the time.
A very complex dance.
But I have a feeling this is only the beginning, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's so much more to uncover.
Well, I can't wait to learn more.
Let's dive back in after the break. So you're right, there's so much more to uncover.
Yeah, where do we go from here?
Well, we've talked about how the liver and kidneys handle cortisol and aldosterone. But what about those adrenal androgens? All right, specifically DHEA.
Exactly where does it get metabolized?
That's a good question. I know we touched on it briefly.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little fuzzy on the details.
Well, like cortisol.
Oh.
DHEA metabolism involves multiple organs and enzymes.
Okay.
It's a bit like a relay race.
Okay.
With DHEA getting passed from one organ to another, undergoing transformations along the way.
So walk me through it.
Okay.
Where does DHEA start its journey?
It begins in the adrenal glands.
Okay.
That's where it's produced.
Right.
From there, it can travel to various tissues.
Like where?
The liver fat cells, even the brain.
Really? The brain too?
Yeah, DHEA gets around.
And what happens in those tissues? What kind of transformations are we talking about?
Well, DHEA can be converted into other hormones.
Oh, wow.
Like testosterone and estrogen.
Interesting.
It can also be modified to make it easier to excrete.
So just like we saw with cortisol.
Exactly. It's not just about breaking down DHEA, but also about transforming it into other things the body needs.
So it's like a multi-purpose molecule.
You could say that adapting to the needs of different tissues.
That's pretty incredible.
It is. The body is amazing.
So what are some of the factors that can affect DHEA metabolism? Is it similar to what we talked about with cortisol?
There are definitely some similarities.
Like what?
Well, age, for instance.
Okay.
As we get older, our DHEA production naturally declines.
Oh, so that's why you hear about DHEA supplements being marketed as anti-aging products.
That's one reason, yes.
Right.
But it's important to remember that hormone replacement therapy is a complex topic.
Okay.
Should always be discussed with a healthcare professional.
Good point.
Don't just start taking supplements on your own.
What about other factors besides age? Do things like diet and medications have an impact?
Yes, they certainly can.
How so?
For example, a diet high in refined carbohydrates and sugar
Oh no, the bad stuff.
can lead to decreased DHEA levels.
So what you eat really does affect your hormones.
It really does. It's all interconnected.
Wow.
And certain medications can also interfere with DHEA metabolism.
Like what?
Some antidepressants and anticonvulsants.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's something to be aware of if you're taking those types of medications.
This is so complex. It seems like everything in the body affects everything else.
It's true. The body is a complex system.
With so many moving parts.
But that's what makes it so fascinating.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We talked about how the liver and kidneys handle cortisol and aldosterone.
Right?
And we delved into the world of DHEA metabolism. Is there anything else we need to touch on?
There is one important aspect we haven't discussed yet.
Oh, really? What's that?
The role of enzymes in all of these processes.
Oh, right, enzymes.
Yeah, those protein molecules that help speed up chemical reactions.
So they're essential for adrenal steroid metabolism.
Absolutely. Without enzymes, these processes would happen way too slowly.
The body wouldn't be able to keep up.
Exactly. Enzymes are like the little workers in our liver, as airport analogy.
I like that analogy. They're the ones doing the actual repackaging.
And transformations.
Right.
We've already encountered a few key enzymes, like 11-beta-HSD1 and 11-beta-HSD2.
Oh, yeah. Those are.
Remember how they regulate cortisol and aldosterone activity?
Yeah, they're like the traffic controllers.
Exactly, making sure everything flows smoothly.
So important.
Yeah.
And there are many other enzymes involved.
Oh, yeah, tons, each with its specific role to play.
It's mind-boggling to think about all these tiny workers busily doing their jobs inside us.
All the time. It's pretty amazing.
It really is, and it highlights just how complex and finely tuned our bodies are.
They really are incredible machines.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to get a better grasp on the big picture here.
Good.
But before we wrap things up, I'm curious.
Okay.
What are some of the practical implications of all this?
Good question.
Why should we care about adrenal steroid metabolism?
Well, understanding these processes can have a real impact on your health and well-being.
How so?
For instance, knowing how medications can affect cortisol metabolism can help you and your doctor make more informed decisions about treatment.
That makes sense. It could prevent unwanted drug interactions.
Or side effects.
Right.
And being aware of how lifestyle factors like diet and exercise influence DHEA levels can empower you to take control of your hormonal health.
So it's not just about knowing the science,
No.
but also about applying that knowledge to make healthier choices.
Exactly. It's about understanding how your body works.
Yeah.
So you can take better care of yourself.
Well, I have to say this deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
Glad to hear it.
I never realized how much was going on behind the scenes when it comes to these hormones.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It is.
But there's one more crucial point we need to address before we conclude our exploration.
Oh, really? I'm all ears. Oh, really? I'm all ears.
We've talked about how these hormones are produced, transformed, and excreted, but what happens when things go wrong?
That's a good question.
What are the implications of disruptions
Yeah.
in adrenal steroid metabolism?
I imagine it could lead to all sorts of problems,
It can.
given how important these hormones are.
Right, they're involved in so many different functions.
Exactly. So what could happen if these pathways get disrupted?
Well, disruptions in these pathways can have a cascading effect.
On my health?
On your health, yes.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about cortisol.
Okay.
If your body isn't able to properly regulate cortisol levels,
So?
it can contribute to a wide range of issues.
Like what? What kind of issues are we talking about?
Well, too much cortisol can lead to problems like weight gain,
I don't know.
high blood pressure, and even impaired immune function.
So too much cortisol is definitely not a good thing.
No, it can really throw things off balance.
And what about too little cortisol?
That can also cause problems.
Like what?
Fatigue, low blood sugar, difficulty concentrating.
Wow, so it really is all about finding that sweet spot.
It is that perfect balance.
Not too much. Not too little.
Exactly. And the same goes for aldosterone and DHEA.
Okay, so imbalances in those hormones can also cause problems.
Yes, they can contribute to things like electrolyte disturbances, low libido, and even mood disorders.
So these seemingly invisible processes happening inside us can have a huge impact on our health and well-being.
They really can. It's all connected.
It's amazing, really.
It is, and that's why it's so important to understand these pathways.
Okay.
And to be aware of the factors that can disrupt them.
So what can we do to support healthy adrenal function?
That's a great question. There are a lot of things you can do.
Okay, I'm ready to take notes.
One of the most important is managing stress.
Ah, stress, the modern-day epidemic.
It really is, and when you're chronically stressed, your body pumps out cortisol like there's no tomorrow.
I know the feeling.
And over time, this can wear down your adrenal glands.
And lead to imbalances.
Exactly. Yeah. So finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial.
Like what kind of things?
Exercise, meditation, spending time in nature.
All the good stuff.
Yes. Things that help you relax and unwind.
And getting enough sleep is important too, right?
Absolutely. Your adrenal glands need time to rest and recharge.
Just like us.
Exactly. They're not meant to be running on overdrive all the time.
Makes sense. What about diet? Does that play a role?
Absolutely. Eating a balanced diet with plenty of whole foods and avoiding processed junk can really support your adrenal health.
So no more late-night sugar binges.
Probably a good idea. Remember what we talked about with DHEA?
Yeah.
A diet high in refined carbs and sugar can actually lower your DHEA levels.
Right, it's all connected. So taking care of our overall health is the best way to support our adrenal glands.
Exactly. It's all about taking a holistic approach.
So nourishing our bodies, managing stress, getting enough sleep.
These are all important pieces of the puzzle.
It's like a lifestyle makeover for our adrenals.
You could say that.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It has been fun.
I feel like I've learned so much about these fascinating processes happening inside us.
Me too.
Any final thoughts?
I think the key takeaway here is that while adrenal steroid metabolism is complex, it's not something to be intimidated by.
Right.
By understanding the basics
and
taking steps to support your adrenal health.
Yeah.
you can empower yourself to live a healthier, more balanced life.
That's a great message to end on. A huge thank you to our expert.
You're welcome.
For guiding us through this incredible journey into the world of adrenal steroid metabolism.
It was my pleasure.
And thank you to you, dear listener.
Yes, thank you for listening.
For joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore.
I can't wait.
Until then, stay curious.